The old woman pulled out every piece of gold, silver, and jewelry she had on her, desperate for just one decent meal. But the man across from her didn't even look up. He just raised his gun, signaling them to leave immediately. In this post-apocalyptic wasteland, gold and silver were worthless, nothing more than useless junk. Still, the old woman wasn't ready to give up. She pulled out a small pouch of seeds. With these, Mike could grow more food and have a sustainable source of nourishment. Seeing Mike hesitate, the old woman thought she'd finally struck a deal. But the next moment, Mike handed the seeds right back to her. Clearly, neither offer was enough to sway him. Left with no choice, the old woman played her last card, her daughter, Anna. Hearing this, Mike's heart sank. He'd been living alone in this barren land for 50 years, and no one could understand that kind of loneliness. After a brief moment of consideration, he finally nodded and agreed to let the mother and daughter inside. But Mike didn't let his guard down. He carefully searched them both to make sure they weren't carrying any weapons before he felt even slightly at ease. Then he made them a long-forgotten meal of KFC. After they ate, the old woman kept her word and left the house alone. By rights, both of them should have left the next day, but the old woman made another request. She wanted to stay and help Mike tend the farm as free labor. A win-win for both of them. To her surprise, Mike immediately raised his gun again. He'd survived this brutal world by being cautious and suspicious. These two were complete strangers and could bring unpredictable danger at any moment. The old woman didn't argue. She turned to leave. But after stepping outside, Anna suddenly came back in, holding a knife. Mike didn't know what she intended. Instinctively, he aimed his gun at her, ready to fire at the slightest wrong move. But to his surprise, Anna simply used the knife to gently shave the beard off his face. Maybe touched by this act of sincerity, or maybe moved by this unexpected tenderness, Mike finally broke his own survival rules and let the mother and daughter stay. What he didn't know was that this decision would bring danger right into his world, danger that might even cost him his life. In the days that followed, the old woman bustled around looking industrious on the surface, but secretly she was watching Mike's every move. She gradually realized that the reason she had to grovel and submit was because Mike always carried that gun. While Mike was talking with Anna, the old woman quietly searched the entire house and discovered something crucial. Though Mike carried the gun every day, there were no bullets anywhere in the house. This meant he probably only had 2 rounds on him. Sure enough, that night Anna told her mother she'd seen Mike put his only 2 bullets in his pocket. The old woman was secretly pleased and immediately told her daughter to steal the bullets that night. The next morning, Anna made an excuse about washing her face at the river, successfully getting Mike to lower his guard. Meanwhile, the old woman picked up a shovel, pretending to help Mike sow seeds, but gradually moved closer behind him, planning to strike him down when he wasn't looking. At that critical moment, Mike suddenly noticed unfamiliar footprints on the ground. He immediately realized that Anna, who had gone out alone, might be in danger, so he didn't hesitate to sprint toward the river. The old woman, also worried about her daughter's safety, rushed after him. Sure enough, just as Anna finished washing up, she'd been grabbed by a strange man. When they reached the river, they only found one of Anna's shoes. She was nowhere to be seen. The old woman screamed her daughter's name hoarsely, but only deathly silence answered her. Mike quickly calmed down. He noticed broken branches nearby and found footprints on the ground identical to the ones from before, so he followed the trail. When Mike reached a clearing thick with grass, he immediately knew the man was nearby. He quickly crouched down and reached into his pocket for bullets, preparing for the confrontation ahead. But the next second, he froze. His pocket was empty. The bullets were gone. In that instant, Mike understood. The old woman had taken them. But unexpectedly, he snapped his shotgun shut and stood up anyway. The attacker was less than 30 feet away. Seeing Mike expose himself, he immediately fired. Mike fell to the ground. Thinking he'd won, the attacker dragged Anna forward, pulled out a knife, and prepared to finish him off. At this critical moment, Mike suddenly opened his eyes, drew the knife hidden on his leg, and thrust it hard into the man's body. Mike had planned it all along, using himself as bait to lure the enemy close, then deliver a fatal counterstrike. Though Mike had rescued Anna in time, he'd been shot. The mother and daughter quickly carried him back to the cabin for treatment. Anna heated a knife over the fire to remove the bullet from his body. Just as she was about to take out needle and thread to stitch the wound, the old woman suddenly pulled out a red-hot iron rod and pressed it against the wound without hesitation to stop the bleeding. The brutal method made Mike scream in agony. Once the wound was treated, Mike suddenly aimed his gun at the mother and daughter. He knew perfectly well those 2 bullets couldn't have vanished into thin air. They must have taken them. This realization chilled him to the bone. He'd taken them in out of kindness, and they'd nearly destroyed him for it. Still, Mike ultimately didn't pull the trigger. Instead, he locked the mother and daughter in a room temporarily to prevent them from making any more dangerous moves, planning to let them out the next day at mealtime. But before long, Mike's wound worsened, causing a high fever, and he soon became too weak to get out of bed. Seeing this, the mother and daughter realized their opportunity had come. The old woman had Anna steal his gun. That way, they'd never have to fear Mike's threats again. Once he died, the farm would naturally fall into their hands. However, Anna had a different idea. She felt that a grown man could shoulder many of their burdens. And besides, Mike had just saved her life. It would be wrong to let him die now. Her words finally changed the old woman's mind. The mother and daughter returned to the room and kept rubbing Mike's body with their hands, trying to raise his temperature. By the next day, Mike regained consciousness. Learning that they'd saved him, he didn't pursue the matter of the stolen gun. Still, all three knew they couldn't avoid one harsh reality. This small farm's output couldn't sustain 3 adults. They had to venture out to find more food. Fortunately, the surrounding forest was vast enough, and the three often had unexpected finds. But one night, while Mike was working, he suddenly noticed a flash of light in the woods. He immediately realized that outsiders had their eyes on this place. In a panic, he quickly returned to the cabin, locked the door, and signaled the mother and daughter to stay absolutely silent. From the sounds, Mike judged there were about 6 intruders outside, but they only had 3 bullets left. Even if every shot hit its mark, they'd barely make it out alive. Luckily, the intruders didn't force their way in. They just caused a commotion nearby before leaving. But the next morning, Mike discovered things were even worse. The vegetables they'd worked so hard to grow had been completely ransacked, even pulled up by the roots, leaving not a scrap behind. Their survival situation had suddenly become desperate. Right at this moment, Anna realized she might be pregnant. When she returned to the cabin, the old woman told her there was almost no food left, and if they wanted to survive, the only option was to get rid of Mike. She told Anna to gather poisonous mushrooms from the forest, make them into soup, and feed it to Mike herself. By now, Mike had no defenses against the mother and daughter. He completely trusted them. After settling on the plan, Anna followed her mother's instructions, picked poisonous mushrooms from the forest, made the soup, and brought it to Mike. Things went exactly as the old woman had predicted. Mike didn't suspect a thing and drank the soup without hesitation. The next morning, the old woman packed her bags, ready to leave with all the food. When she reached Anna's bedside and signaled her daughter to leave together, the drowsy Mike noticed the movement. But at that moment, Anna suddenly said she wasn't leaving. The old woman immediately sensed something was wrong. Before long, she was violently vomiting by the water basin. It turned out Anna had put the poisonous mushrooms in her mother's bowl. Maybe she'd truly fallen in love with Mike. Or maybe she didn't want her unborn child to lose its father right after birth. In the end, she chose to stand with Mike. Surprisingly, the old woman didn't blame or resent Anna. She asked Mike to take her into the forest and give her a quick end, and Mike agreed. With the old woman gone as a burden, Anna and Mike should have had a fresh start, but fate played another cruel trick. The group of invaders from the night before returned the next day, armed and ready. The clatter of cans caught their attention. Mike crouched in the bushes and spotted the enemy ahead. The two immediately returned to the cabin and grabbed the remaining seeds. By the time the invaders arrived, they'd already escaped, but they hadn't gotten far before being caught up with. Mike told Anna to leave immediately while he stayed behind to draw the enemy away. Even after Mike took down one enemy, 5 remained. He wove through the forest, seizing the opportunity to shoot another, but then a cold arrow shot from the darkness and struck him in the abdomen. Alone, he couldn't handle the remaining 4 and was eventually overpowered, becoming their prey. Meanwhile, Anna also encountered a pursuer. She fired her gun in panic but missed. The man advanced with a machete, but fortunately a bear trap saved her life. Anna seized the chance to escape the forest and finally reached safety. Luckily, she found a camp where survivors had gathered. To protect the child in her womb, Anna didn't hesitate to hand over the seeds she'd been carrying to the guards, trading them for the chance to keep living.